Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Hello. And as you can see, we've got a slightly different setup today. I have an acoustic gig tomorrow. It's my first one back after about a year and a half of not playing. So I need to change my strings, and these strings haven't been changed since before the pandemic, so they're getting on a bit. But they still sound pretty good. I kind of don't want to change them, but I probably should, just in case one snaps during the gig. So that's what we're going to look at today, how I change the strings on my acoustic guitar. I'm just going to put the cloth in there to dampen the strings so they don't ring out. So let's have a look at what we're using. So you've seen the cloth already, that'll be used to wipe the guitar down. I have my string winder, which is also a string cutter. I can also remove the pins with this end bit here. I've got some strings, which might be out of focus, but I'll put those in focus in a bit. I've got the Elixir Nanoweb strings. I have a tuner, the faithful polytune clip. I have a brush, which you could probably figure out I'm going to use that for, but you'll see that as we go on. I also have some Dario fretboard conditioner and the Dario friction remover for anywhere where there's friction. What else? Is there anything else? No, I've got this thing here. This you can't quite see it. It's just something that I'm using to keep the neck off of the or the headstock off of the table and the guitar itself. So people will say to take off one string at a time and then replace it and then move on to the next string. The other way to do it is to take all the strings off, and I understand why you do it one string at a time. I used to do that as well, but I usually take all the strings off just because I want to give the fretboard a nice good clean, and maybe it's a little bit easier as well, so maybe there's some laziness going on there. So first of all, I'm going to loosen the strings from the tuning pegs. I can use the string winder, I can use my fingers. Let's take this off now. Okay. Strings are nice and floppy. Let's take them off. So I've got a bunch of floppy strings here, which I'm going to throw away. Normally I have a friend, she's a lighting engineer, and she usually asks me for my used strings once I've finished using them. She says it's something to do with her lighting desk, her lighting equipment. That's what she tells me anyway. For all I know, it's some kind of weird sexual deviance that she's up to. Time for the string winder. We're going to use this bit on the end here. This is by Planet Waves. I could probably put a link in the description to Amazon to get one of these. They've changed the design a bit. They're a bit more ribbed for your pleasure nowadays. This one's an older one. So I'm just going to scoop these out, these pins. And the strings can come out. There we go. And that's ready to be thrown away. The guitar itself, there's some dust, which you probably can't see on camera, but that's what this is for, just to get to the funny, just to get to any kind of hard to reach areas, just to get rid of some dust. Headstock is a good place to use this. Apparently you're not supposed to use guitar polish on the body of acoustic guitars. Let me know in the comments if that's true or not. So I have the Dario fretboard conditioner. I'm going to apply some of that onto the fretboard to keep it nice and hydrated so it doesn't dry out. Let's do it. It says apply a thin layer of hydrate to your instrument's fingerboard. Immediately buff and dry with a soft, clean cloth. Now that's clean. Let's give the fretboard some time to dry. But while we do that, we can apply some lubricant. Some the Dario, the Lubricate friction remover to the nut here, to the slots where the strings go through. So you get this kind of nice little pop there. You get this syringe. Is that going to focus? And you get a couple of different, you get these kind of applicators that you can kind of spread it around, and they're two different sizes. That's why there's two of them. They're different sizes. The white one is slightly smaller. There's these little brushes on the end, which you probably can't see on camera, partly because it's not focusing on this. So first of all, all the fluid is in the syringe. I know it's not in focus, but all the fluid is in there. We're going to apply it to each slot. Let's do that first. Let's just work it in there. So I've got these Elixir Nanoweb strings. I usually use the gauge 13s on this guitar. So the guitar itself, I haven't mentioned this yet, is a Taylor GS Mini, the Koa one. It's slightly smaller scale, so gauge 13 strings are what comes with it, and they're kind of standard. They work really well. So on a standard guitar, on a standard length guitar, I'd probably get 12 gauge 12s, but because it's slightly smaller, a slightly smaller scale length, I'll use these 13s. Here's the low E string. Take my low E string. So I just put it in a little bit and then push it down with the pin, and that's done. I'm going to do that with all the other ones as well, and then I'll attach the strings on this side afterwards. So for the purposes of the video, I've switched the guitar around. So this is not normally the side I start on, which means I'm going to start on with the low E string and then work my way to the lower strings. So it's a bit different to how I usually do it, but for the purposes of the video, for you lovely people, I'm going to do that. So this is probably what a lot of people are wondering how to do, or like me when I was younger, I didn't know that there was correct ways to string a guitar. So first thing I've got here on this acoustic guitar, I've got the holes in the tuning pegs kind of all facing that way, or I'm going to try and get them all facing that way first. Maybe slightly angled, kind of maybe something like that, because I am going to put a little kink in it. To start with the first one, with the first string, remember to keep an eye on these pegs. Not on camera at the moment, but keep an eye on the pegs to make sure they don't fall out. So the way I like to do it, the way I was taught when I was younger, once you can thread it through, so we're going to thread it through. Let's go all the way first. And again, the pegs are starting to come out a little bit. I'm not going to put it through the nut just yet, because it's already taken some of the lubricant from it. I'm going to measure about, what was that, about 2 inches or so, 3 fingers worth of string coming out the other end. I'm going to measure about that much. That's about here, and I'm going to push it back. And what I'm going to do now is this part here, before it goes into the hole, I'm going to bend it, so from my angle here, anti-clockwise or counterclockwise for our American brothers and sisters. I need to hold that in place. I can probably go through the hole for that. So this should give us enough slack, or everything we've done so far should give us enough slack, so when you wind it up there should be maybe 2 or 3 winds around the tuning post. I'm going to start winding, so it should be this way if I remember correctly. And keep an eye out on the excess string. I want that to go, let's see if I can remember which way I want it to go. I believe I want it to go over. And the reason being, I can't demonstrate with my hands at the moment because they're busy. But what you get is a clamping of the string being wound around the string itself. So this is the string itself, and when you wind, the other strings go around it and kind of lock it into place, which helps with the tuning. So these strings, I find that the higher strings, the 3 treble strings, I find to be harder to do than the 3 bass strings. I think because these ones aren't wound, although my G string is wound on this one. But I do find these ones easier. So let's do the B string. Alright, G string. So I pull the G string all the way. Hope the pin doesn't pop out. 3 fingers on the other side coming out of the hole. That's about there. Thread it back again. Little kink. Make sure you get the direction right. So as I've got this kink here, the string before the hole just basically continues round in the same direction over the top of this one, and then it'll be underneath as it comes back round again when you wind it. So let's start winding. So make sure it comes underneath, which means that the excess string goes on the top. You get that kind of clamping mechanism that we were talking about earlier on. Okay, D string. So normally I turn the guitar round and do it so it's on the same side as me, but I'm going to see if I can try and do it without. If it comes to it, I will do that. But let me test myself just for the purpose of the camera here. Okay, so thread it through. There's going to be a couple of differences here, but it's more about it's more like a mirror image thing, so you need to be aware of what things look like from the other side. All right, so all the way through, 3 fingers on the D string now, which is about here. Thread it back again. There we go, and I'm going to wind, making sure that this part of the string here goes underneath what's the little bit that's wound around the headstock, the tuning peg already. Need to keep this hand, my left hand here, that needs to be kept nice and tight. And as this string, excess string comes around, I want it to go along the top of the main string. You can see how this part of the string coming out is clamped around it by the rest of the string. And as we keep winding, I want this part of the string to keep going lower and lower. I'll do for the moment, A string. Right, it's all the way through. 3 fingers, which is about there, where that bend is. That was totally not a mistake I made earlier on. Right, last string, the low E string. There we go. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? So we've got this very hairy guitar at the moment. Let's tune up. Let's show you what we do with the tuning. Right, so we're going to focus on this part of the neck, where my tuner is, where my polytune clip is, and we're going to tune the guitar. And we're going to do it a couple of times, and I'll show you why. Don't worry about these. I'll cut these in a bit. So low E, almost pretty much exactly an E already. So you might think, yeah, cool. Tune the guitar. It should sound perfect now. Let's try it with an E chord. So it's not quite there. So we're going to tune it again, but what we're going to do before we do that is we're going to stretch our strings. So I like to do this in a couple of different places. I like to take roughly where the sound hole is and pull up. But I'm going to hold it down here first so it doesn't pop out the nut. I'll just pull it up a couple of times, be quite forceful with it. 12th fret, do it there as well. 5th fret, do it there as well. And repeat for all the other strings. Alright, let's check out this E chord. Yeah, as expected, it sounds horrible. So we need to tune it again. So what's happening is when you stretch the strings, you're just kind of working the strings in, kind of like wearing in shoes, where you first get them, you want to wear them in a few times before you actually start using them properly. That's sounding better now. I'm going to stretch them in again. It's gone out. It's not too bad though. Let's tune up again. There we go, lovely E there. Let's give the guitar a bit of a haircut. Let's get rid of these. So controversially, I don't like to cut it as short as possible. I like to leave just a little bit of length, nothing too long. And the reason being is that I find that if it's too short, it's more pokey. So if there's a little bit of length there, it's not as pokey if it happens to poke you. Like with a stubble on your beard. If you've got a beard, the hair's not too bad, but if it's stubbly, then it can be a bit prickly. Although I'm open on that one. I have thought about cutting it short anyway, because if it's short, it's out the way as well, which is probably the argument that people were thinking of when they come up with that. So let's do this. Just not do it in any particular order. Got my faithful Planet Waves string winder / clippers on here. That's roughly how short I'd keep them, or how long I'd keep them, depending how you look at it. I mean, regardless of how long I have them, I usually will angle them down so they don't poke into anything, especially the inside of your, if you've got like a soft case gig bag, you don't want these poking any of the fabric and damaging it. So there you go, that's how I tune my guitar. Maybe I'll give it a bit of a wipe down just to kind of give it a nice clean, and just play it a bit just to work the strings in a bit more. I hope that was enjoyable. I hope that wasn't too long. So let me know below if there's anything you do differently when you change your strings. I've got some electric guitars to restring in the coming weeks for gigs that are finally coming back. So maybe I'll do a video on that as well. Let me know if you'd like to see that. It's a slightly different process, but very much the same. So again, like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.